Hey, chiropractors, welcome to Modern Chiropractic Mastery with your host, Dr. Kevin Christie, where we discuss the latest in marketing, business, and professional growth with some of the leading experts in the industry. Hey, docs, do you feel like a frog in slowly boiling water? Yeah, that's an analogy that I'm hearing from a few people actually about inflation. In today's episode, I'm going to have a solo episode on outpacing inflation in private practice. The frog in water story is what's the best way to boil a frog? And it's to put him in warm water and then slowly increase the temperature until he doesn't realize it, and then he's boiled, versus throwing him in hot boiling water and jumps out, right? And that's unfortunately a lot of times what inflation feels like. You could be making more money, or you're making the same amount of money before, and then it just slowly increases and increases and increases, and if you're not careful, it gets to the point where you didn't realize it, and then all of a sudden the cost of living and the cost of running a business has really outpaced your revenue and your ability to pay yourself. And whether you own a practice or you're a student listening to this, or you're an associate, we're all dealing with it. If you're a practice owner, you're dealing with it from both ends. You're seeing it in your personal life, and you're seeing it in your business. If you don't own the business, you may be seeing it in your personal life, and it's challenging. And this episode, at the end of it, I'm going to actually provide you with a link and a free course on outpacing inflation in private practice. So I got a little gift for you at the end of this that really dives into these 6 ways you can outpace it. And so if you're a non-owning DC and you're listening to this, a lot of it's going to be applicable to your personal life. And if you have an associate position or IC or anything like that, where you do have bonus opportunities based on production, this is going to apply. If you're a student, this is going to apply to you in your personal life in some ways. And then when you get out, understanding how to either do this correctly as an associate, or if you open up your own practice, how to monitor these 6 things to make sure that you're growing, right? And it's tricky, right? Because even in life, like I've noticed in my life over the years, as my income has increased, there's something called Parkinson's law, which basically is lifestyle creep, right? The layman's terms for it is lifestyle creep, where you make more, you spend more, and you look and you're like, oh, I'm making so much more now, but where's all that money going, right? And because you're ultimately, unfortunately for a lot of people, you spend what you earn, and you got to be careful with that just in life in general. But you really have to be careful when you're in a 10% inflation world that we live in right now. 8 point something, 9 point something, depending on what you're buying, it's way more than 10%. Like I look at some of the things, my lawn service, my pool service, some other, groceries, obviously gas. If I looked at the percent increase year over year, it's way more than 10%. But I guess, the numbers that they're releasing each month in general, how they calculate it is, let's just call it 9 or 10%. And we need to try to outpace that. And so in this episode, I'm going to highlight the 6 ways you can. And then at the end, again, you'll have a link you can access where I actually go into 6 lessons, video lessons with some homework for each of you to do and things to apply to help grow your practice. And this is going to be important, right? And we always want to try to grow. But it's going to be even more important right now, because if you don't grow 10%, you actually fell behind. So we need to grow at least 10%. We're aiming for 20% at least with our MCM mastery clients. We're doing a 20% growth initiative for 2023 to really try to turn up the volume in our practices. And these are some of the bedrock foundational things. And then once you do this, you layer on all the other aspects of, say, coaching and marketing, and you can exponentially grow. And, if your practice is 15 years old, it's harder to grow 30% in a year than if it's, a year old. And so take that into consideration. Some of you newer practices, if you do things right, you can have substantial increases each year because you're growing, right? And it's just natural. So let's dive in. Number 1 is improve profit margin understanding and improving your office visit average, right? So your office visit average is the dollar amount per visit on average, right? And so you would essentially calculate that. If you were to do a year, you would take all of your revenue for the year and then divide that by the amount of office visits you had for the year. So it could be $72 a visit, $63 a visit. That doesn't mean if your cash rate is 75 that it's 75. It's, there's a lot of different variables. New patient exams are more, and some insurances and this and that and the other thing. So you just take an average and you get that, and that'd be your OVA, right? And that's something that you want to know. And it's hard to give you an answer of what a good OVA is. I know what a bad one is. A lot of it is factored into, where you're at. Like if you're practicing in San Francisco versus practicing in Mississippi, right? It's going to be different in the sense of what you really need to be good. It probably better be $100 a visit at least in San Francisco, and it could be 55 in Mississippi and doing pretty decent, or it may not, right? There's a lot of, depending on what town you live in, if the affluent nature of it is high or low, that's all going to matter. But wherever it is, you can improve it, right? And so in this lesson, we highlight 4 things you can do to improve that OVA. And so I highly recommend checking that out. And that first lesson right out of the gates is going to help you improve that OVA. So how do you improve the OVA? If I improve your OVA $5, right? And let's say you see 300 people in a month, I'm going to times that by 12 months. That's 3,600. I'm going to times that by $5. That right there is $18,000 just by increasing that one number. And those are modest numbers, right? Some of you practice at 500-600 visits a month. Some of you can raise it $10 a month. In the series that you get at the end of this, you can really figure out the 4 ways of doing that, okay? Number 2 is improve profit margin, optimizing your hourly capacity, right? What is the hourly capacity you have, right? So if you can see 3 people in an hour and you have an OVA of $60, that's $180. That's not enough. I want to get you at least $250 an hour, and I'm going to show you how you can do that in your practice. There's a few ways you can definitely do it, and do it strategically where your patients aren't feeling the brunt of it. You're not sacrificing care. You're being a little more efficient. I had a great episode with Brett Winchester on that earlier in the year, so check that out if you haven't. But number 2 is improve your profit margin by optimizing your hourly capacity. All right. Number 3 is stop doing $20 an hour tasks. Many of you don't have front desk people, or you do, but you're still doing a lot of things. You don't have a CA yet, and you're doing all the care. You're just wearing too many hats, paying the bills, you're doing payroll, you're checking the mail. Some of you are even doing the insurance billing coding. I mean, it's just like you're literally a one-man band, and it's a problem because you're spending so many hours and frankly, in a year doing, it's just endless amounts of $20 hour tasks instead of doing the things that are the $250 hour tasks. And so you got to be doing that. And in this series that I'm giving you, we're going to show you how to automate, delegate, and outsource that process, the main things you should be doing, right? And ultimately taking an activity inventory. Going to walk through that with you as well to get very clear on the things you need to be doing. But you ultimately got to stop doing the $20 an hour tasks, all right? All right, docs, here is a new opportunity for you from Darcy Sullivan of Propel. She is our SEO specialist in helping out many chiropractors with their search engine optimization and making sure Google is finding you and getting you new patients. It's amazing how many new patients chiropractors can get and are getting when they do the SEO right and a few other things. And Darcy is offering a free SEO workshop just for chiropractors, and you can sign up for that at bit.ly/propelmcm. That is bit.ly propelmcm, modern chiropractic marketing, right? And so check out that link, and we're going to have you go over 5 SEO secrets to owning the first page of Google without buying ads. And Darcy's going to give that free workshop, 1 hour, to really help grow your practice and start churning new patients from the ever mighty Google, which is still king in the online marketing. So check that out at bit.ly/propelmcm for the 1 hour free workshop. All right, rolling right into number 4 is, frankly, you need to fill your schedule, right? Some of you have room on your schedule. And so if you're asking yourself, how can I overcome inflation? It's like, okay, see more patients. If you end the week and it's Friday and you're checking out and you're like, man, I had space for another 25 people this week. You got to start filling those spots up, right? And then that's just where marketing is going to be important, right? Setting the indicator scorecard, your trailing indicators and your leading indicators, essentially your goals and the things you're going to do to do that. Have a really proactive marketing plan or an events calendar. Like, start getting in action, like fill that schedule. That would be your number one thing, right? And now it makes sense to do the other stuff too. But for some of you, you just really need to fill a schedule. You can easily overcome inflation by filling your schedule. And a lot of you, unfortunately, know you're not doing all the things you need to do to fill that schedule. And so you got to really look in the mirror and say, all right, enough's enough. Like, if I need 50 more office visits in a month, what does that look like? Reverse engineer that. Double up the amount of social media and content marketing you're doing. Send out more emails to your patient. Get more events. Have more meetings with attorneys and doctors. Work races and other events and sporting events. Do workshops, public speaking. Like, do it, right? I know you might have some hangups around it, but it's amazing how it works. And so number 4 is fill your schedule. Number 5 is, not the sexiest thing in the world, but you got to cut your costs, right? So I think a lot of us that were in practice during a pandemic know what this looks like, and you can start cutting the costs, right? Christine Odell talks about the 4 walls of your business, the things you have to pay for to run your business, your payroll, your utilities and rent, and in that utilities are going to be your EHR and other things that you got to have. Your insurances, malpractice, liability, maybe it's disability, health insurance. Like, there's a lot of things that you need insurance-wise to run a healthcare practice. And then marketing is a 4th one. If you sell a lot of supplements or supplies, that could be a 5th one. But get clear on what your 4 walls are, and those are your main expenses you can't cut. And then look at some of your subscriptions, right? Like, and see that and figure out what's going on there in your business and in your personal life. The biggest thing is that in this particular lesson 5 in this Outpacing Inflation series that I'm giving you, we talk about discretionary expenses versus investments, what to cut out in your business life and then in your personal life, like get a little lean there. How can we find 10% through your business and your personal life, but not things that are going to impact you, right? I recorded an episode back in the summer about recession, and I talked about being the buffalo. And if you haven't listened to that episode, being the buffalo is an old Native American story that when the big storm comes, the buffalo, they counterintuitively, they actually run towards the storm and through it, and the cows try to run away from it. Well, what ends up happening is the cattle is in the storm for a lot longer trying to outrun it versus the buffalo who run through it, take it head on, and they're out the other side of it a lot quicker. And so a lot of you need to be the buffalo. And so I don't want you to cut things that are serving your revenue, but you may need to cut some things you're just not utilizing. And if it's something that you're not utilizing, but if you actually did, it would help move the needle, then don't cut that. So I don't want you to say, oh, well, I'm not using that, but if I did, it would help fill your schedule. Then obviously don't cut that. Just, kick yourself in the pants and start utilizing it, right? There's certain things you have, certain memberships and certain aspects that really would actually help grow your practice at least 10%, and you're paying for it, but you're not using it. So start using it. And so number 5 is cut your costs. We dive into a lot of that in the series for you. And then number 6, lastly, is develop your team. I know, again, that probably sounds counterintuitive if we're trying to, decrease or our expenses or potentially increase profits by 10%, but developing a team really should be considered an investment, not a cost. And so we talk about when you should hire, you got to hire when you can. If you've got great team members and they're just awesome, and you know that they're a big role in your practice doing well and growing, you need to consider paying them more. You might consider giving them a 10% cost of living raise and let them know, that's what it is. We did that with our hourly staff. And so talk to them and say, hey, look, I know things are challenging right now and expensive. We're going to give you a cost of living increase due to that of 10%, and figure what that is hourly and do that, right? So obviously if they get paid $15 an hour, they're going to go to $16.50 an hour, and they'll really appreciate that, and they'll be in your corner even more. So you may have to pay your team, right? You need to have the ideal core team around you. Now this could take some time, right? If you're a lone wolf and you don't have a front desk and you can't afford it, having a rock star front desk is part of that core team, but we got to get there. We got to work on that financially to get to it. And all these things will help do that. I think the ideal core team is the owner doctor, the rock star front desk, and a CA/rehab CA. And then you build upon that, right? Like where you can get to an associate and stuff. And so really consider that. So the last lesson we have in this series is where we talk about developing your team appropriately, investing in them. They will help you grow. A great team can help you outpace this inflation and even more and grow big time. So definitely look out at that. And so those are the 6. All right. And again, much more in-depth lessons. They're not long, maybe 10 minutes each. If you sign up, you'll get them all at once and you can watch them as you go. But I want you to strategically watch them and actually implement the information that I'm providing you, because I am giving you a roadmap here to solve this problem. And so 1 is improve profit margin by understanding and improving your OVA. 2 is improve profit margin by optimizing your hourly capacity. 3 is stop doing $20 an hour tasks. 4 is fill your schedule if you have room for it. 5 is cut your costs. And 6 is develop your team. And again, at MCM Mastery, this is an exciting time of the year. We got 1 foot in 2022 and 1 foot in 2023. As a group, we're going to be really working on this 20% growth mission, 10% to meet this inflation, and a 10% growth at least on top of that. And for others, it'll be even more than 20%. So consider joining us. And you can go to www.modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Hey docs, I hope you enjoyed this episode. And if you want to dive into the full 6-lesson course, just go over to bit.ly/MCM inflation, and you'll be able to register for free. I've given you 6 really good lessons that I put a lot of thought into on how you can grow your practice at least 10%. But honestly, if you do all 6 of these and really strategically implement them, if they suit your practice, you'll grow even more. So check that out at bit.ly/MCM inflation. I hope you enjoyed this week's episode. And if you want to make the shift from busy, broke, and broken to time-free and cash confident, or you just want to continue with the exponential growth, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com. Look at the MCM Mastery tab, watch the short video on there, and check out what we are doing now for evidence-informed chiropractors. We are equal parts coaching and marketing done for you. Yes, you shoot some videos, we help you with campaign strategies and ideas and really become a thought leader in your community. You shoot those videos, you send them to us, we produce, edit, and brand them to you. Then we distribute them through all of your channels. We also take them and we turn it into 1 good blog per month. And every other month, we have Darcy Sullivan producing a robust blog with a topic that you pick from her database to help with your SEO. So we essentially become your content marketing agency to make sure your practice is always having ethical, elegant content marketing to help grow your practice. On the coaching side, we also help you with everything from marketing ideas to business, communications, finances, anything practice growth, and really try to help prevent you from being stuck on that island. And we hold you accountable. We have a great group of doctors that are just doing amazing things, and we look forward to help you out to take that next step in your practice. So again, check us out at modernchiropracticmarketing.com and learn more.